welcome to MMT TV, and I'm Shaun Furman here with July Ono, and July is a professional real estate investor with a really cool story about setting goals, setting her intention, and just blowing them out of the water when it comes to real estate investing. And this came from a CD series that I was given from a friend of mine. She said, listen to these CDs, you're going to learn something from them. And July was talking about her story. So, July, can you give us a little bit of background on you and why real estate?
I think we can all relate to going to school, being told by your parents to get a good job, and then retire. And unfortunately, I did all that stuff. I went to school, Dublin University, got a good paying job, and then lost it all. So by the time I was 35, I thought I was on my corporate ladder climb, as most people do. And at that time, though, I lost everything. And through a series of unfortunate events, actually, I reframe that, through a series of events that it led me. So this is what happens. There was something that I considered bad event, but in hindsight, it was the event that transformed my life. I lost my husband, I lost my house, I lost my job, all in a 6-month window of time. So I had these major things that just piled on me, catastrophe after catastrophe. And I didn't know what it was. I'm 35, and why is this happening to me? You know how people say, why me? Well, it was a learning for me to grow, because without these challenges coming my way, I could not become the person I am today. So I re-looked at my whole life and I thought, well, if school was so great, why aren't all the PhDs on the planet millionaires? So education in and of itself is not going to make you financially free. It's what you do with that knowledge. And it has to be specific, street smart knowledge. So I just said, I'm gonna do a 180. So I'm gonna do the exact opposite of everything I didn't do and follow my heart and follow my passion. One of the first things I did, it was very counterintuitive, I went into acting, of all things. I needed to learn about, actually acting is not about being someone you're not. It's actually about authenticity. Learning to own your own authentic breath and standing in your presence. Because when you're real and sincere, that is the truest form of communication. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but the acting, all those lessons would actually come back later on in the way I presented these investment opportunities with people. Because communication is everything, Shaun. Pardon me?
Do you also speak from the stage now?
I used to, but not very often. I've had to put my public persona on hiatus while I focus on building my business. So I did tour across Canada with Darren, and but I was having a conflict. You have to focus, Shaun. I was having this wonderful public persona, on the stage presence. I could travel a lot, but then on the other hand, I had real estate investments and property management and dealing with staff. So I was way too scattered with my focus, and I had to make a hard choice. It was very, very agonizing for me, because I love empowering people and sharing my story and helping people see that there's a way. Now, at the time, I incurred a lot of debt, as I'm sure most of all us can relate to. And I ended up with $40,000 in credit card debt and living in my parents' basement. And I had not seen them really live with them for a good 8-9 years. And my perspective of my parents changed, and everything changed, Shaun. I saw them every day living with this angst, this black shadow over them of financial worry. Every day they were going more and more in debt. They're on fixed income, their expenses are increasing, and their income shrinking. So it was just heartbreaking to see them struggling every day. And I made a vow. I'll never let my parents live in worry, constant worry, ever. And I will never let them go back to poverty, because they came from World War II. They were interned, repatriated. So they've been through World War II. They know about deprivation. And I didn't want them to go through that again in their golden years. It was something that was very passionate. So there was something, even though it was a negative incentive, it got me going. I would do anything for my parents, and I did. And I encountered those walls. They stopped me cold. Going to ask the first person for money, or networking with that first person, saying, "Hi, I'm July Ono. I'm a professional real estate investor," and I had zero real estate investment and zero real estate knowledge, but I was passionate about this, and that's the one thing that I had: totally enthusiastic, total 100% commitment. And I think that everyone who's talked to me can say, July, if anything, she's passionate about real estate. I immersed myself. So even with this, I consider it a disadvantage. My one advantage is I had something no one else in the room had. I would do whatever it took to get it done.
So you had the why. You had the big why.
Huge why.
But now you have this system, this binder, this business plan. And can you hold up the binder? It's your whole business.
Sure.
This is
So
inside of this binder. Is that correct?
here's a power of real estate. This is one of this is like the first one I ever made. So it's mine, it's on my shelf. And as you can see, it's huge. It has like 12 modules in here. And it's everything I learned step by step about real estate. And then I created these CDs in here that to supplement all of the chapters. And it's just our stories. So one of my proteges, you'll see her here, and you need to interview her, Selena Jung. She actually became financially free in half the time I did. It's just amazing.
And you took how long?
18 months.
18 months. So she took 9 months.
9 months. Yes, right. It's because she took everything I said literally. God bless her heart. When I'm training people, I sometimes use metaphors. She took my metaphors literally. So most people I saw, when I told them, go out there and find a realtor that you can work with, that understands your needs, you're compatible, they'd stop after the third one. And so I just said, if you have to talk to 100 realtors until you find that one person that can work for you, you keep going. You don't give up. Well, she took it literally. She actually talked to 101 realtors. I'm going, wow. So that's why she became very good at selecting realtors, because she with all that practice, she did. And she found a person that she teamed up with, actually 2 realtors, and the team became very powerful and purchased tens of millions of dollars in real estate. And so she basically did everything, even though it was fearful, even though she had a huge uncomfortable blocks. She came to me for mentoring, and basically she told me after, I didn't understand why you told me to do that, July, just that if you're a millionaire and you did it, then I'd better do it. And so regardless,
great attitude to have.
Totally. And she was very, very motivated, highly motivated to quit her job because she hated the environment there. It was very unsupportive. And so today she's very successful broker in Edmonton market.
Yeah. So why don't we go into your real estate business and your business plan? So when you first started, you had some goals and you achieved a 10-year goal in 18 months.
Yes. So the first thing is get a card. Get a card, piece of paper, anything. You carry it with you. Napoleon, do you have one, Shaun?
I don't, and this is something that I've procrastinated on since about last June.
Okay,
So
join the
it's been
club.
a year.
We all procrastinate. So today is the day that it stops. What you do is you list the top 3 financial goals that you would love to achieve in 10 years or 5 years or 1 year. I put mine, I have a process that I learned from Andrew Barber Starkey, my pro coach, business coach. You project 10 years out. What is your ideal lifestyle 10 years from now? And you write them down as descriptively, as specifically as you can. You write it down. And then what you do is from there, you backtrack in order to go towards your goal. What are the first things I have to do within the first 3 years to attain it? And so I put my goals down as Napoleon Hill describes. My first goal was to own a $1 million portfolio, a real estate portfolio, $1 million. That was easy. Although the million something's there's something funny about 1,000,000, Sean, when you write it on paper, because I've never seen $1 million, and so it was really pushing my comfort zone at that time. $40,000 in debt. I'm going. I don't know how it's possible for me to get there because I just spent the first 35 years getting in debt, not even close to a million. But I put that down as a possibility. Okay, I and there has to be a specific deadline date. So I wrote this around November 26, 2001, this goal. So I own $1 million real estate portfolio on or before November 26, 2010. Now, it's really funny because I thought I had made a 10-year goal. It was really a 9-year goal. And then I earn $2,000 per month net passive income on or before November 26, 2010. You see the trend? The goals are in the present tense and it's at a certain specific date. Without those, it's very vague and the universe doesn't know what you want. And you got to be very careful about not wanting things, because not wanting things means you want them. And so a lot of people will say, or some people, I don't want debt.
Or I
Well,
don't want this relationship, or I don't want my job.
anytime you say I don't want, the universe does not understand negatives. It just basically eliminates the don't, and it's all it understands is I want debt. I want debt. I want bad relationships. I want all this stuff. So be careful of the don'ts, because they're actually, the universe can't distinguish between what you want and what you don't want.
And you bring it into your focus at that point.
Exactly. So I carried this thing with me every day. Every morning I would read it, and every night I would read it. And if you could do it during the day, even better. You carry it in your wallet. So I own $1 million real estate portfolio on or before November 26, 2010. I earn $2,000 per month net passive income on or before November 26, 2010. And the more you say these things, the more actually you start to believe it. And you have to add one more thing. I was thinking about my parents and this huge emotion, this intensity of never letting them live like that again would be part of my mantra. If you do it with no emotion, it's not as powerful. And that's why affirmations sometimes don't work. You just say platitudes, but they don't affect you. And then I said all of my credit card debts are zero balance every month on or before November 26, 2010. And so those were the three major goals that I had written down. They were easy to memorize and easy to recite, even while you're working or driving to and fro. You just have to immerse yourself in that. And then the work started, Sean. I can have those goals, but you have to put an action plan. So my coach made sure that I did 3 actionable items every single day. Just 3. Don't have to do a lot. So what are those 3 things that I must do today to get me towards my first-year goal, to get me towards my third-year goal, which will ultimately get me to my 10-year goal? And it's like, okay, I have to make a phone call to a realtor today, network, take them up for lunch, look in the newspaper listings and see what's for sale and contact those owners. Just 1. I don't have to do 3, just 1. And then the third item is, let's go to a seminar and network with someone. And those were like my 3 things. You just do 3 little things every single day, and at the end of 30 days, you've done 90 things. Just imagine, it is a lot.
And most people maybe do 1 every month.
Maybe. And that's why you track all this stuff. It's a lot of work, but guess what? You can see what you're doing and what you're not doing. So one of the things I sacrificed, there's sacrifices to get to your millions. I gave up television. So I got rid of the cable. I was monitoring what I was doing, and I was spending 3 to 4 hours a day watching television. What a huge waste of my time. And so I decided, no, this is all this time. I can watch as much television as I want today after I've made my passive income. But on the road to get there, you really have to focus and use as much, all the downtime that you have, use it for, strategize on how you're going to use it. That's the key thing. And that took me a while to figure out, strategizing the use of my time, because most people waste a lot of time doing basically Nothing. So those three little things. Networking is key. So one of the things, the first items in my real estate course, any business, you need a newsletter. It is so important. And it was frightening to write the newsletter the first time for me. I really didn't know what I was doing, just that I had to connect with the people I had met. You go to seminars, right, Shaun? You meet dozens and dozens of people. How do you stay in constant communication with them every single month? How can I stay in touch with 5,000 people every single month? And the only way to do that effectively is to have a newsletter where people who connect with you want to know you because you are adding value to their lives.
An email.
That's right. The database is really important. Following up. I would say that in business in general, in the last 10 plus years that I've seen and met people, 99% of the people I meet do not follow up with me. Amazing, hey? Which is why I don't give my business cards out. I'll take their business cards because I know I follow up. And I have a follow-up rule within 12 hours. Actually, I like to follow up within the first 4 hours of meeting someone because it's fresh. I know what the conversation is. And when I get their business card, let me give you an example. Let's say I get a business card from someone and we're talking. I put the date, time that we met, where we met, and anything relevant. So Shaun, if we're talking and I know you have a girlfriend. I know you have friends in Calgary. I know you're in Winnipeg. So I write all these things down so that there's something personal about you. If you said it, it's important to you. So when you listen, going, why did that person mention their dog's name or what type of dog they have? The dog must be very important. Why did that person mention tomato garden? Well, it must be very important to them. Why did that person mention about going to Whistler and skiing? These things are very important to that person. Take the time to write it down. You don't know why you're writing it down, just that it's important to them. And then in the email communication back on your follow-up, this is, I remember talking to someone, I don't know why this is still in my mind. She had a tomato garden and there was mold and fungus and she couldn't get rid of it. So I went back, researched tomatoes, mold and fungus, and guess what? It was a soil that she was using. So I sent her a link to this article and said, it was great meeting you. And do you think that brought me front and center into her world? That someone would take time. Exactly. It's a little thing. And so when you're meeting someone, we have 2 ears, right? Spend 80% of your time listening to the person and 20% of the time talking. Unfortunately, everyone wants to talk to me because I'm the answer girl. The thing is, giving people the answers doesn't help them, Shaun. I've given people the answers, but it makes them very lazy. They don't take the effort to learn. So that's why I like asking questions, because the better questions you ask, the better investor you become. That's the key. It's not knowing the answers. It's asking the right questions and learning what questions are the right ones. That's the key. So
what are some of the right questions?
That's what you ask. That's what you find out through practice. So it's like, July, does this cash flow? Now that is one of the most vaguest questions I ever get. Does this property cash flow? All I can say is yes, all properties cash flow. But do you want the cash flow to be negative or do you want it to be positive? So when you take a look at their lifestyle and what their goals are, I have absolutely no clue if that particular deal fits in with what their goals are. I can tell if that deal fits my criteria because I've spent the time, weeks, months, clarifying my vision, my mission, and my purpose and exactly what I want. And I'm very focused now. In the beginning, you scatter because you're in an information gathering phase. So you'll be basically very mediocre in everything. That's okay. But as you're scanning all the stuff that's out there in the real estate world, is it like long-term passive income? Do I want to flip? Do I want to do tax liens and tax deeds? Do I want to do foreclosures? Do I want to do, rent to own? All this stuff you're researching And eventually you're going to find a niche that really feels good for you, because it has to work for you. I can tell you that a lot of what I do drives some people crazy because it's just too boring. The young
Buy and
guys,
hold.
like, buy and hold is a very boring game,
And I
but I
was
love
telling you about the land development with the subdivision.
it's patience. You need to have vision that'll sustain you for the long term, and you need to be passionate about it to keep everyone motivated and engaged. And so a lot of young men, they like the flip. They'll go in, buy a house, and flip it in like 30 days. I know several people like that. And they love the adrenaline hit, and they love that big payday prize at the end. And the long-term thing is just they can't handle it. Maybe in about 20 years when they settle down. But you see, passive income to replace your active income is the number one game you must play. Otherwise, you won't be free to choose. You'll always be at the beck and call of someone else running your life. And that was the most hugest lesson that I learned from T. Harv Eker of Peak Potentials and Robert Kiyosaki through his cash flow quadrant, actually. I didn't really read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I started it and I didn't like that book. But I love the cash flow quadrant book because that appealed to my analytical business mind, the ESBI quadrant. I got it. And you work, you know that employee and self-employed on the left-hand side, they're the highest tax people. And I was very fortunate to have taken accounting and worked for an accountant early on in my life. And I recommend everybody take an accounting night school course. Just learn about bookkeeping, because that is the language of money. And going forward for the rest of your life, you have to understand the language of money and how the business world works with this money. Because ESBI, you're trapped. You can't ever leverage yourself until you leverage it over into the BI, the business and investor quadrant. Now today, I operate in all four boxes. I'm an employee in my own business. My investments pay for my passive income, and parts of me are self-employed because I'm an entrepreneur. I love creating businesses. But you see, it's a plan. Set the 10-year plan down and going, okay, let's work on my first $10 per month passive income, or my first $100 or $1,000. Now, I have set my sights quite lofty, Shaun. I made my goal $2,000 per month net passive income, and I worked furiously for that. And my husband today, he actually said, July, I think you've set your sights too high. Thank you, Steve. Maybe just work on creating $1 per month passive income. And I'm going, what? $1? It's not worth it. He's going, July, if you can create $1 per month passive income, you can create multiples of it. Sometimes we set our goals too high. I know people who say, I want to create $10,000 per month passive income. Well, it's possible. I just know that it took me longer than they think it took them. So if you're thinking you can do it in a year, it's possible. But the people that I meet that have those goals don't put the time in to actually create it. And they're watching, 2 to 3 hours of TV a day. You have to eliminate all that stuff. And so I think it took me about 2-3 years to get to that level. But it's possible. Just start with increments.
And it was worth it.
Well, it is worth it. Just because, school doesn't stop at 18 when you graduate from high school. It keeps going. School just gives you the basics, just the basics to barely survive in the world. After that, you're on your own. Good luck. It's like, oh, and we all experience the street smarts certificate, right? On the streets, you either make it or you don't. And it's a good thing that we don't make it, because I can tell you right now, my not having money was a motivator for me to actually create joint ventures in the first place. People who have money have a cushion, a fallback. They never have to push themselves mentally, or psychologically. And so it's a detriment when I teach people that have money, because they always have that in their back pocket and they won't push themselves. The ones with no money, I had no money. All my money was going to pay the interest payments on those darn credit cards. And so I remember paying $800 per month just to pay down the interest. It was horrifically painful to do that. That's a mortgage payment, Shaun. And so I had to be creative and find a way to buy real estate with none of my own money and other people's money. And so was that uncomfortable for me when I first started?
Oh, I bet it. Oh, I know how painful and scary that is.
It's huge. It's a huge leap, especially when I'm going, who am I? I'm just, July, I'm just starting. I don't know much, but I'm learning. The thing is, though, I was determined. So I thought, how can I prove to people that even though I don't have experience, even though I don't have real estate underneath, behind me, what can I do to prove to people that I am an action taker? That's why I started that binder. You know what? It's archived somewhere, probably in storage, because I know I didn't throw it out. But it was just a plain, simple, you know, ring binder, right? One of these things. And so what I did was, when I opened the page, I would put 1 at the top. And then on one side, I would put the clipping or a picture or the article, so I could see it, the property. And then I would have my list of questions. And I was a very lousy interviewer when I first started. I didn't know what to ask people or what, but guess what? You really learn fast. I would say by the 3rd or 4th person I called, I got better and better and more confident. And then I would do all my calculations on the other side to see, did it work? How much would the mortgage payments be? And then it would be, no. Then I turn the next page and it'd be 2 and 3 and 4. So I had a binder like this with 67 deals that were all no's for various reasons, because it didn't meet my cash flow criteria. It had to cash flow, and I was not prepared to support. It had to feed me, like what Robert Kiyosaki says. Your investments are either taking money out of your pocket or they're putting money in your pocket. Then deal number 68 came. So did you listen to the one about that one with Darren?
Deal number 68. It was a fourplex.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
In
And
northern
so,
Alberta, northern BC.
see, so I started like any newbie. I didn't know what I was doing. So I started from Victoria, Vancouver Island on the west coast, and I went all across Canada to PEI and Halifax, Nova Scotia. But Canada is way too big for you to focus on. So I had to make a decision. I cut off the east and I just focused on BC and Alberta. But guess what? That's still too big. You can't do everything and cover such huge territory. So I had to make a decision. I cut out Alberta. And then I focused on BC. But guess what? BC is still too big. And so I'm learning how to focus and focus and focus. And so I went through the entire lower mainland to the interior, the Okanagan, into the Kootenays, and I started going north because there was nowhere, nothing cash flowed until I hit northern BC, where for some reason most people weren't at the time that I was investing, which was around 2002, 2003. And all of a sudden, after 67 deals, I could see instantly the price, the rents, it's just going, yes, cash flow, cash flow. So that came about because I did all the work. Now, some people contact me and just want to give me the deal and let me do all the analysis for them. But that is really lazy investing. They have to understand that unless they do the work and have a lot of no's, they're never going to make it.
And they'll never see the numbers. Eventually, you get to the point where you look at something and you know if it's going to work or not.
Exactly. That's why we know. That's why I know what the numbers are now. But in the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know if I was passing up a good deal or not. But that's part of the learning curve. You learn. And am I great with numbers? No, I'm not. It takes me a long time to analyze things. My husband can analyze something in under 10 seconds. It just drives me insane when he does that, because he has this amazing ability in his mind to just do numbers like that. And I'll catch up to him 20 minutes later. But guess what? I know how to do the numbers on my own and understand how the numbers work. And that's what every person, you have to go through that. I'm sorry. So do the work. And then once I found the deal, I was able to go to these networking events with other real estate wannabes. There's lots of people there that are learning in the learning mode, but they can't pull the trigger. I think you understand that, right? And there's someone in the group that is already pulling the trigger and you admire them. And so I'm the one pulling the trigger because I'm actually going out there looking at the deals, talking to the vendors, making offers. And I had this offer on the table. And so in my network, I started just going to people and say, "Hi, Shaun, I'm July Ono. I'm a real estate investor. I've been doing this stuff." I'll show my book, all the deals. "What have you been doing?" Of course,
And they'll say
not
they haven't
much.
done anything in a month.
That's right. I already know this because I've seen them at different networking events. At which point I said, "Hey, would you be interested in partnering with me and buying this property?" And of course, the lights go on. It says, "Sure," because I'm taking all the risk, right? The emotional risk. And so it was easier than I ever expected, Shaun. Once I started networking and asking, would you like to partner with me? Not, do you have money? Would you like to partner with me? And in creating this passive income. Of course they want to. That's what they're all learning. And then the second question is, so how much would you like to invest? 2,000? I started with 10,000, 5,000, 2,000. So I started with the highest end that I could think of. And then there I had, I think when I finally stepped out at one seminar, it was at Darren's seminar, one of his first ones here in Vancouver. I made a conscious choice at every break to network with everyone there. And in the space of, I think, 3 or 4 days, I talked to 28 people and got a verbal commitment for $90,000 amongst all of them. Now that's like, wow, huge. Even though the money wasn't in my hands, I had people that committed $90,000. They pledged $90,000 to me. So that gave me the confidence to go out there and look for a deal that I could actually put. Now, did I want to put 28 people on title? Not really. But guess what? You got to start somewhere.
Or
That
issue
was
shares.
That's right. So we all be pro rata shares based on whatever. And I had all the formula and I'd worked it out. I'm the one that's doing the equity deal. So I was going to take my half. Now that particular deal didn't work out in the end because the owner lied to me or misled me about certain facts. So I went to another deal, and that's when the fourplex came along. And by this time I had culled out all the people to one investor with, I
50,000.
think, yes, that's right. So that was much
Remember this
easier.
story.
And so we were going through the deal and everything was looking great. I was up there, I saw the property. It's fantastic. Now, because I was a rookie, it was my first time dealing with investors, I did not get the money up front. I was letting her keep the money in her bank until about, 3 days before closing. Now, unfortunately, what happened is I made the call, said, "Okay, I need you to transfer the money to your lawyer now. We're closing." She got cold feet. So my anchor investor decided that she didn't want the investment, that something came up that she had been planning for a long time, an expense, and that, well, all I can say is I did everything to convince her about the passive income, but no, she backed out. And so I was committed to buy this property, Shaun. I'd removed the subject of financing. And so I was kind of in a bind. But the great thing is I had a backup investor. When I'm teaching people about real estate investing, I teach people the 7 profit centers in real estate, which is ELCPTAR, LCPTAR. So if you think of a matador, a Spanish matador in a bull ring, his name is LCPTAR. Equity, leverage, cash flow, principal pay down, tax benefits, appreciation, and reinvest equity. ELCPTAR, LCPTAR. And so I was explaining this deal to another friend, and about the deal, and he at the end of the explaining all this, he's going, "Wow, that's a great deal. I'd take that if it wasn't taken." I remembered him saying that. And so when she fell through, I called him right away going, "Guess what? It fell through. My investor backed out. Are you still interested?" Day one, equity day one, he's making 17% return on investment on his investment. So the answer was yes. My money's doing nothing right now. Actually, it wasn't even cash in the bank, Shaun. It was line of credit money that was sitting there earning nothing. So he was making money off the bank's money himself. It was a win-win for both of us. And he was totally happy with 50% cash flow and 50% equity. But the first $50,000 that the property made, it belonged to him. Anything over and above that, we split 50-50. And we held that property for, I think, a couple years. And I got an unsolicited offer from a realtor. So I bought it for 186,000. It was appraised at 220,000. So 220 minus 186 is $34,000. You split that 50-50, $17,000 for you, $17,000 for me. It's phantom money because it's not cash in my pocket, but it is definitely on my net worth statement. And then we split all the cash flow up to that point, and I think I got the offer for like $340,000 a couple years later. Insane. So at that point, we had a clause in our contract to wait 5 years, or if the property appreciated 20%, we could have a conversation to discuss 5 options. At that point, it's like, wow, it came faster than I thought. Conversation is, do we want to hold it? Do we want to pull equity out? Do we want to sell? And at that time, we were both in various phases of our life. I was consolidating all of our small stuff into apartment buildings, which worked out perfect. So I was able to, we both agreed to sell. And so I took my profit, my net profit after all the mortgage was somewhere around $76,000. And I plunked that into one of my first apartment buildings as a share. And that's what I've been focusing on is apartments now, multifamily dwellings. It's great to get started in the small things, just to get your feet wet on learning how to get cash flow, learning how to deal with investors. And then that's why the small ones, even though my goal, my intention was long-term hold, there's a backup, which is to flip it when the time comes. But you have to know what you're flipping for. You have to have a strategy. You don't flip for the sake of flipping, because then you're making money. Once you make cash, Shaun, what do you do with it? You got to do something with it. Your cash has to be making you money. And so line of credit money just sitting there doing nothing is like sinful. It's doing nothing. That money should be working for you. And that money is the bank's money. It's not cash out of your pocket. So all of my line of credit is used up because I'm making tons of money off it. And that's why my house, when we bought it, it was a strategic. We rented for many years. Even though technically we were millionaires, we didn't want to buy a really, really expensive house and make $3,000 or $6,000 a month mortgage payments. And then the principal you can't even write off. So we were quite content to live in a fourplex and the rent was being paid for by the passive income. We weren't making any payments. So by the time we planned to purchase our house, our primary residence, all cash. No mortgage whatsoever. And so we did. And then 48 hours later, we were able to flip out as much equity as we could and put them into 2 more apartment buildings. So that's why our house that we live in actually pays us to live in it. The line of credit pays for everything, utilities with money left over. Isn't that great, having your house pay for you to live in it?
It must be an incredible feeling. I wouldn't know yet.
Well, it all took time to plan it. And so once you have a specific goal, then you work everything around to make it happen. And so we don't have fancy cars. I still don't have a Beamer or a Mercedes or a Jag, because my husband's favorite car is a 2001 Ford Focus. Wow. Mr. Moneybags. You'd never know. So it's not about the things that you have. It's about what you do with the money. And then now that my parents are basically taken care of for the rest of their lives, I was able to shift my focus to helping other families, other people, help them have security and confidence in their future. So one of our missions right now is to empower our investors to live the lifestyle of their dreams, right? And not to have to worry, to help them, their parents, and help their children. It's all about pay it forward, because the more people I can, like educate and empower, the better, because the information's free. It's out there right now. You can go to any library. My stuff is practically free too. I'm giving it away. And so it just takes someone that with the wherewithal and the big why to go out there and do it. You know, we live in North America here. It's amazing, Shaun, the opportunities we have that people in other countries don't. And when you visit these some of the less fortunate countries, it's amazing that we have what we have and people still complain. I'm just amazed at that. But just know that here I am, um, divorced, $40,000 in debt, living in my parents' basement. It was just a very shameful and a time of my life. And I was able to turn myself around because you can. We all have that innate ability. We just have to get out of our own comfort zone. Now, there's something called the RAS, the RAS. It's in the back of your head. It's called the reticular activation system. And it's designed, it's called a reptile brain, and it's designed to keep us safe. It wants status quo. And so it was very good back in the Stone Age, I suppose, when we were being chased by carnivores that wanted to eat us. It was very good. It protected us. But in today's age, the jungle doesn't exist. It's a concrete jungle. We're dealing with all sorts of different types of stress. And we have to override that program and tell it, no, I'm not in danger. When I go to meet Shaun for the first time, he's not going to eat me, right? He's not going to bite me. It just has, but you see, the brain doesn't know that. It wants to keep us safe. So that's why people stop. They let their RAS, they go on autopilot. And so you have to override your autopilot and know, you just say, well, thank you for sharing. I understand that you're trying to keep me safe, but I need this in order for us to expand our context and to go after my goal. And so you have to partner with it, Shaun. You can't eliminate it. It's there even today. I still have my RAS kicking in and saying, stop. That's unknown territory. It's dangerous. And I have my little voice management system. So have you heard of Blair Singer?
Yeah, I actually interviewed him last summer.
Oh, excellent. He has an amazing little voice management system. And he's hilarious too. I love the humor. And you know, it works. You have to manage your little voice because it will sabotage you. It will stop you from doing the successful things. So you got to be an adrenaline junkie. Go out there and enjoy the fear and do it anyway.
And that's something that I'm learning right now myself.
Do you like roller coasters?
I love them, and I love skydiving and driving fast cars and flying.
Okay. So you see, going after money is the same thing. It's the same feeling. When you're going down that roller coaster, you know that moment where you just scream because you're about to fall and you're jumping. I haven't skydived, but I have bungee jumped off a very, very, very high bridge. And it's like you're just going in that one moment when you're launching. That is that fear moment, right? What do you do to get you to go?
You just go.
That's right. You just go.
So you just do it.
Exactly. And so what happens is when you stop, you're thinking about it. You're thinking about it. And you got to stop thinking and go. What you do is you do all the preparation in advance. You have all the numbers, you have all the stuff, but then there's a place where it stops. And guess what, Shaun? You're at that place. No more. So it's time for you to just launch. And you know what? It's fearful. It's scary. You're going down without a parachute. It's like, what's going on? But guess what? You land because you're meeting amazing people that want to help you, that want to partner with you. You just got to go out there and experience it. It's an initiation process that we all go through. And until you've done it, you won't know what we're talking about.
All right. So we're far past the end, but
wow.
Because your story was great, I wanted to keep going. So what are your plans now? Where are you going from here?
Well, I have acquired 526 rental units in BC and Ontario. And my plan for this year is to double our portfolio to 1,000 units. And we are actually moving from buying existing rental apartments to building purpose-built rental apartments. And I'm also going into commercial as well. See, all these things are defocusing when we have to focus on something, which was multifamily, 3-story walk-up. We became very good at analyzing that specific type of property, so we stuck with it. Lots of other things have come our way, and it's very tempting to get distracted and get pulled this way and pulled that way. But I remember a mentor I talked to who's like 100 millionaire. And he said, you have to focus, laser focus. You can do all these things, but guess what? He says, I know a lot of friends and peers. They got financially free, they were financially secure, and then they went off and did something they had no business getting involved in because they had no experience. And they lost everything, everything gone. And so if you spend 10 years building that and then in just one deal can wipe you out, you better know what you're doing and have good mentors to back you up. So we've been very cautious and careful about venturing into something that is not our area of expertise. And guess what happens? You surround yourself with people who have really, really good character. You look at their business practice, how long have they been around, what do other people say about them. You're always going for the best of the best, right? And so we're doing that right now, which is another world is opening up for us, Shaun. It's quite exciting and thrilling. And so we're partnering with these people, and because the rental apartment stock it's getting older and older, 35, 40 years old now. A lot of stuff was built in the 1970s when the MERB program, the tax intensive, was offered by the government. The multi-unit residential building, it was a tax intensive program. And then 1980, the government stopped the funding, which is why all apartment buildings got stopped. They just stopped building them. And so now they're all old. And today's 21st century people, they have they take certain things for granted, like, how come the washer and dryer isn't in my apartment? How come I have to go to the basement? Or how come I have to go down the hall? These kind of things are very inconvenient for today's renters, tenants. They're more sophisticated, and they want and need the amenities. So the only way to get those amenities to them is to build it. And so the challenge right now is building it affordably. And so those are all the other options that we're looking at. It's kind of cool. It's really fun. And I spent the last 3 years building a new business, a property management division, because frankly, I'm better at managing my own buildings than property management companies. It's because most of them don't have systems to manage tenants, to manage expenses. I know because I've spent the last 3 years building them. And it may be that I come from a corporate background, and most people who are managing properties, they come from a real estate background. So they're not business people, they're salespeople. So that's why I'm just doing what's common sense and putting HR policies and controls and systems so that everything, there's something. When something goes wrong, I'm always asking, why did it happen? And what can we do to fix it so it never happens again? And that's the kind of questioning that I want my staff, my team, to always be thinking. Not that, oh, it happens and then we just react, but how can we prevent it? So that in the end, we have something called a no-brainer, fail-safe, foolproof system. And actually, it's finished. It's almost finished now. My no-brainer, fail-safe, foolproof property management, tenant management system. It's almost done. And it will, I've already have management companies that want it because it was so effective. That's part of the things that I'm always doing, how to make a property run more efficiently. And what's great is this year we're under budget on maintenance for the first time in, I think, 4 years in our Ontario portfolio. It's just quite ecstatic about that. Now, to be under budget, that's huge. So I'm just doing my little dance. You see, it's all about management. And there's no such thing as passive income, truly. There is a bit of active management involved, Shaun. So I have active income coming from the properties I manage, and I have passive income because I'm also an investor in my buildings. So and I want to manage my buildings because I know I can manage them well.
Yeah. Very
yes.
Cool. And where can people go to find out more about you and to get on your newsletter?
Oh, great. Thank you, Shaun. www.onthebeacheducation.com. And it is undergoing a retrofit at the moment. So if it disappears for a few days, it's happened. but it's not supposed to do that. I'm just warning you that onthebeacheducation.com is my main website, and there's a place for people to subscribe. It's free. You just learn about what's July up to this month, and tips. And I think I'm running out of steam.
On the Beach Education, and we're going to find out what July is up to and the tips on buying real estate.
Excellent.
So, all right. Thanks, July, for being on. It's been a great pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you. It's been fun. Thanks for calling, Shaun.
Yeah. Have a good day.
Take care.
All right. I hope you enjoyed this video, and be sure to like, share, and comment below. Subscribe to this channel for more interviews, and if you want to go further and be live on the interviews, you can go to mmt.tv/live to find out how. Like on Facebook and follow on Twitter to ask your questions, and be sure to get on the mailing list. Go to mmt.tv to get access to all the things that are not contained in these interviews. All the links are mentioned below, and until next time, break the rules, change the game, and be a rock star.